I think we can kind of go ahead and at least get started here on the intro. I know we have some really great things to cover today. Just a few quick housekeeping for everybody joining the call. If you're just now joining us, we do have a Q&A feature. So as Steve mentioned, whether you have questions now or as we talk, if that kind of ignites any questions, we encourage you to kind of drop those in the chat because you are probably not the only one with these questions. So we'd love to answer some of those today. We're also going to be recording this session. And so we will be making sure everybody gets a copy of this recording then on Friday before the busy holiday weekend. And then we also will have a survey coming out immediately after this webinar. And so wanted to kind of pass over to Steve and talk to you a little about that survey real quick.
Yeah, so everybody, this is a 30-second, way of showing appreciation for the content that Libby and I put together today. Where you answer 4 or 5 quick questions, give us some feedback. What'd you like? What could we improve? That type of thing. And in return for that, I'm also going to give you a free copy of my first book called Sales Free Selling. And if you're out there just winging it, we're going to talk a lot about how winging it's probably not a great idea. But if you don't have a method or a methodology for being non-salesy as you approach business development, this book really covers it. And I wrote it as a parable, so it's kind of a fun read. It's more of a story versus a how-to book. And so everyone that completes a survey will be getting a free ebook of that. And I think it's a great read over the summer. It's a very fast read, but we just would appreciate you taking 30 seconds after we spend an hour with you to just do that one thing for us and give us that feedback that we're so desperate to get that we normally don't get. So appreciate that.
Absolutely. And that'll be emailed to the email you use for the registration on this webinar. So we can expect that. So let's kind of dive into it, kind of do a quick introduction of who we are. So for those of you who may not be familiar with me, my name is Libby Luff. I am on LinkedIn. So please, after this webinar, come out, find me. Would love to kind of connect with you there. And I get to lead kind of strategic partnerships for PracticePanther. And that ultimately means that I get the fortune to collaborate with state and local bars, legal organizations across the country, and also with great partners like Steve here, where we're really looking to provide some of the really great educational content about, ways that you can maybe increase efficiency at your law firm. And so I'll kind of pass it over to Steve and he can introduce himself as well.
Yeah, thank you, Libby. So if you're hearing about me for the first time, I've been doing this a long time. I'm not a lawyer, but I have worked with lawyers since the collapse in 2008, and essentially work with them on business development, best practices. And so every day, all day, I'm helping lawyers have the best year they have every year. When I'm not doing that, I'm producing a tremendous amount of content in the form of 4 books I've written. I'm writing for 2 publications, Legal Business World and the Chicago Daily Law Bulletin. And I've got a 300+ episode podcast called Be That Lawyer. And if you want to hear some of the top experts in legal, rainmakers in legal, talk about how they did it and best ways to approach, everything we're going to talk about today and beyond, check out Be That Lawyer on your phone or on my website, fretzin.com, and you can check that out. But just so happy to be here and be able to share some best practices with you all today and, hopefully get a couple of good takeaways.
Absolutely. And I can definitely agree on I'm a subscriber to the Be That Lawyer podcast. I really love it. There's a lot of really great professionals and experts that he brings on. So it's definitely a podcast I'd highly recommend.
No, thank you.
Absolutely. So I figured a quick highlight on PracticePanther for those of you who may not be super familiar with who we are. We're actually an all-in-one practice management solution. It's really created for really firms of all sizes. We're looking to do really 2 things for our customers. We want it to be easy to use. It has to be intuitive. You're in there, you're working in it every day. It should be easy to use. It should look good, and be something that you want to be in. And it should be customizable, really depending upon your area of practice. You can really customize to your needs. In some ways that we are doing that, we do that with seamless case management, where you can really link all of your information so you can get it on any device, no matter if you're working on a laptop or a mobile phone. You can automate those workflows, which are kind of really important, kind of set up those conditional tasks. Reminders are great. I'm a big fan of reminders. And then we even have customized tags that you can kind of utilize within workflows, within contacts, so you can kind of sort and order and report on various metrics. Then we have those native e-signature and two-way texting, which is great kind of within our platform, and you can tie those messages and those e-signatures directly to your clients and your matters. And of course, billing and payment is really great when you can kind of go digital with your billing options and really get paid faster. We did a great survey among our customers, and we find that those who are accepting, debit, credit, and things like that, they're just getting paid faster by their clients. And so we love to kind of offer that ability. And want to pass it over to Steve, and he can kind of talk a little bit more about what he does with Fretzin.
Yeah, and I'll be real brief. So really, it's interesting. I'm only doing two things these days. One is I'm taking highly motivated attorneys and putting them through a business development coaching and training program. It would be very similar to getting an MBA, but in business development as a lawyer. And so I've got attorneys from all over the country that reach out to me and want to work with me to take things to the next level. And my job is to sort of identify that the issues or the gaps that exist in your business development game, that it's what I do, and that there's enough of it that we can find a lot of ROI and money on the table and decide to work together. I also work with a lot of rainmakers and very successful attorneys that are crushing it $1 million plus in my Rainmaker Roundtable groups. And these are more pure advisory roundtables. Many attorneys feel like they're alone or on an island. They don't have a team around them of other successful lawyers to not only network with, but more importantly, to share best practices and solve problems. And I run 5 of those groups nationally now. So, and then you saw, some of the things I'm doing on the podcasting side.
Awesome. Well, let's kind of jump right into it. So today, Steve and I are really going to dive into the secrets of time management and talk about ways that you can hopefully find and build better habits. We're looking to empower you to make the most out of your precious time so you can hopefully, find that work-life balance that really everybody's talking about and really take control of really the needs within your schedule. So we're going to do that by exploring the top time management challenges of growing law firms, and then getting into the kind of refining and enhancing your productivity techniques. And then, the reason that we're all here today, you will discover those time management secrets to help really get out of promoting or to prioritizing really the urgent over the important. So I'm sure we've always kind of been there. We know the juggle, we know the struggle with kind of all of the different tasks that you have to accomplish in a day. Let's regain control and prioritize what's really important, what really matters to us. And then we'll kind of wrap up the conversation with ways that you can leverage some practice management software for that efficient productivity. And so some top time management challenges for growing law firms. As legal professionals, you all understand the critical importance of efficient time management. For the following slides, we're actually going to draw insights from the Thomson Reuters annual report. It's from the state of small law firms. And so just to give you a little bit of highlight, you're probably all familiar with this study, but it captures the pulse of firms with 29 or fewer attorneys. And actually, there's a strong emphasis on those firms kind of composed of 6 or fewer attorneys. You're looking at 75% of respondents came from law firms of 6 or fewer attorneys. And some of the things that they found, and really kind of the biggest takeaway, is really clear. The majority of lawyers, 80% out there, spend too much time on admin tasks and not enough time practicing the law. So, and this is not only a trend kind of in this last year, but it's a persistent trend that has really solidified itself as a primary challenge facing small law firms over the past several years. Several other things that this report talked about. You're looking at 72% of lawyers. They say it's a challenge, at least a moderate challenge, to acquire new business. And so I think it underscores the importance of really dedicating time to strategize, to be proactive on promoting yourself and your law firm. I know Steve's going to kind of get into a lot of this kind of in the coming slides, but it's really interesting, if you feel like acquiring new business is a struggle, know that you're not in it alone. 72% of lawyers out there kind of have a similar struggle. You're looking at 62% of legal professionals kind of attribute this wasted time to a lack of internal efficiency. And a lot of this is traced to really the nature of admin work and how burdensome that can be. And this is kind of where automation can kind of really come into play. You can identify areas that need to be automated versus tasks that maybe need a little bit more of a human touch, those phone calls, those meetings and things. And then finally, we're going to get to 50% or 56%. I wanted to kind of really call this out. I thought this was interesting. They say only 56% of their day is spent engaged in the core practice of law. And that number is actually down from 2020. It was like 58% in 2020. So understanding where your time is invested every day, so you can really optimize and improve your daily routine. And hopefully we can kind of refocus some of this time back to practicing law. I'm sure that's where a majority of you would really like to get this number back up. So I want to kind of hand it over to Steve. He's going to talk about some time management mistakes that we should be watching out for.
Yeah, so as we go on to sort of like help you solve and give you some advice and ideas on how to be a better manager of your time, it's always good to go and take a look at what we've kind of identified as the top mistakes that are happening. And, you may, kind of smile as you see some of these, or you might cry and you're, quietly to yourself as you see some of these, because they're just rampant in the legal industry. And in many cases, before I can work with someone on their business development, I have to address, where they're spending their time, how they're spending their time. And one thing I've identified is that sometimes lawyers, as perfectionists and as experts in many ways, they try to hold on to everything. So they're holding on to the bookkeeping, they're holding on to administrative tasks, they're holding on to, instead of getting software to do things, they're just doing it manually. And I think you may have said this, or may have heard someone say this, but, it's just easier if I do it myself. And that's sort of the worst thing you can say as a lawyer who's trying to make good use of time. And there we go. Number 2, it's easier to just do it myself. So yeah, that's just the saying that I keep hearing. And again, we've got to remove that and start to recognize it's not healthy, and it's not really, the best and most effective use of your time. Not understanding your true value. Something I put my clients through on occasion is have them write down everything that they do and during a day or during a week, and then put a dollar value next to it. So let's say I'm posting on social media. Let's say that I'm making copies of an estate plan that I'm, printing out for a client. Let's say I'm, writing a very basic letter to to collect money. Whatever the case might be, is that really my true value? Is that really the best, use of my time? And so I think it's just really healthy to understand what your true value is and where you should be putting your emphasis. And to Libby's point earlier, not, just what's important, but what's urgent for you. This is a big one. And man, I wish, my teenager would listen to me, because I could teach him some amazing time management skills and executive functioning skills that I know I would have loved to have had as a kid growing up. But it's amazing, even in college and in law school and beyond, that time management isn't taught as a skill, because nothing matters more than your time. It's an unrenewable, type of dollar amount that you can associate to it. And so not learning time management is a skill, is in just winging it from day to day or living out of your inbox seems to be, sort of the common thing I hear and see, and it's not. So I'm really teaching it as a skill, and we're going to go through some of that today. And then just again, lack of direction, just, the saying that I have, and this is what I call a Fretzinism, because I've got them, I've written dozens and dozens of them, but did you have the day, or did the day have you? And, you start off the day great, and then all of a sudden emergency happened, or this thing came into your inbox, and your entire day has just been thwarted. So winging it is not a strategy. It's one of the worst things you can do to be successful as a lawyer building business. And so we want to talk a little bit about getting you on the right path, the right direction. And of course, not asking for help. And that's not, a plug for Libby or I mean, that's help in anything. That's a mentor, a coach. That could be a resource. I'm sending people to a friend of mine who helps lawyers with hiring and scaling. I've got resources for marketing. I've got resources for all these different things. And, to try to do it yourself or just put it off or hold off on it when it could be, detrimental to you and your law firm. So really think about, stepping up, asking for help in things that, that you're not an expert in. It's okay. I'm not going to a brain surgeon for a hip replacement. Okay. I mean, they're still doctors, but they're not the same. So you really want to think about what you're great at doing and what you're not, and then look for help in the areas where you're not.
Yeah, I agree. And even the things you don't like to do, maybe, you know, those are the things that you can really ask for help around.
Absolutely.
And so we'll get into evaluating these time management strategies.
So let's talk a little bit about that and mostly about changing our mindsets around goal setting. Lately, especially with the book Atomic Habits, and if you haven't read it, it's a great book. And if you're never going to read it, I'll give you some advice. There's a YouTube video. If you just type in YouTube Atomic Habits, I think it's like a, I don't know, 30-minute video that basically breaks down the book. But there's a couple different philosophies about goal setting. Libby, you want to hit the next thing? And some of those, set a goal and then work towards it. Other, more recent, books and experts have said, maybe just do the behaviors, maybe just, just look at what your plan is for the day. And if you just do get what you need to get done in the day, then the results will happen. And so this is going to lead me to a wheel that I created a long time ago called the results wheel. And so we've got three, primary elements that drive results. We have your behaviors, right? What you do day to day. We have your attitude that you have about business development, about your firm, about yourself. And we have belief. And I love to ask groups of attorneys, which is it that drives results? Is it behaviors, attitudes, or beliefs? And the answers are all over the board. But I'll give you the one that I find. I mean, there's a little bit in all of them. The one that I've found to be most successful has been the behaviors. If we can start getting our behaviors changed and improved, that improves your attitude. Then you start developing more belief in yourself, which then makes you want to continue the behaviors. And I'm just going to give you a quick example. I've been doing Pilates for 9 months. I go 2-3 times a week consistently. It's me in a room full of women. That's okay. We're all there for the same reason. Get flexible, get strong. And for me, it's all about the behavior. I go there, I show up, I do the work. My attitude when I leave is I got it done. I knocked it out. I'm feeling strong. My belief in myself that I'm a physically fit person is up, and then my behaviors continue, and it's a positive cycle. The other side of it is think about when you have poor behaviors. You say you're going to do business development. You say you're going to get a software to help you with your practice management. You say you're going to clean the garage, and you don't. Over and over and over again, you say things to yourself and you don't take action. What's really happening, though, is on a subconscious level, it's chipping away at your attitude. It's chipping away at your belief in yourself. And then you end up with a negative cycle instead of a positive cycle. So I'm really emphasizing with my clients and for you today to really think about the behaviors of how you spend your day and what you can do that's positive, that when you finish up your day, you can kind of nod and go, yeah, I got some things done today. I really felt good about it. Okay. So again, we've got the old school of the big lofty goal and work towards it. The new school is just focusing on daily habits. They're both optimal for getting things done as long as, again, you do the behaviors. Okay. The other thing is, most of the attorneys that I talk to and work with do not have written goals. They don't have something in front of them that kind of pushes them every day or pushes them every week. And I've got two sets of goals. I've got marketing and business development goals to hit numbers. I also have a business plan that's only 1 or 2 pages long, but with both of those reviewed on a regular, let's say weekly to monthly basis, it's very hard for me to fail because I'm seeing what I need to do. I'm seeing what I've accomplished and what I haven't, where I need to prioritize my time. But when you don't have anything written out, it's all just in your head. It's all just like, you're just going day to day. Very, very challenging to hit your goals. And if you do, you're lucky because, things just happened and worked out the right way. And you're a great lawyer and the right referral came in, whatever. But is that really a long-term sustainable plan for success? Probably not for most attorneys.
Yeah, relying on that luck is definitely not where you want to be.
No. Okay. And so something that I've been saying for years is a failure to plan is a plan to fail. You may have heard that before. I wish I came up with it because it's pretty cool, but no, I didn't. And so we really want to talk about planning. And what I thought I would help you all with today is a way to be, because this is about time management, but guess what? When you have an actual written plan of how you're going to spend your marketing and business development time, it's really much more focused than just going out and attending this, attending that, this conference, this event. I'm going to go meet with these people for coffee. I'm going to go grab golf, whatever it might be, instead of having a really targeted approach to how you're investing your valuable time. So we're going to start off with is an objective for the year. So let's say that you're doing $250,000 a year as a solo, for example, and you go, you know what, man, I just got to get this thing up to $500,000. And then once I get to $500,000, I can start thinking about scaling because I'll have the cash flow. I'll be putting money away for my kids' college. I'll have, good salary. That's all great. All right. And cover your overhead. So whatever your objective is for the year, that could be dollars. That could be number of cases or matters. That could be, growth as far as maybe hiring people. It's really up to you how you want to determine what your overarching objective is. But I would say as we're going through this, if you have a pen and paper in front of you, just write down a number. Say, look, this is where I was last year. This is where I want to be this year. It might be high, but it also might be achievable if you put the rest of this plan together, which I'm about to go through with you. So the next thing we want to look at is how are you spending your time as it relates to strategies? Strategies are the bigger activities that you're going to work on that are going to help you accomplish your objective. So for example, it could be leveraging your past and existing clients for additional work, cross-selling, and maybe some introductions to other GCs, CEOs that they may know. And I know that sounds challenging, but if that's where the business is and that's all low-hanging fruit, that's going to be a lot easier for you to hit your goals than going out and networking with a bunch of strangers, which is, by the way, another strategy. But when you think about a tree loaded with apples, is it better to grab the apples that are right in front of you? Or is it better to carry a 16-foot ladder, poke it up on a tree, climb to the top, grab an apple, come down, and do that all day? Sometimes we have to do that, especially if we're new or haven't established a great network, we've been avoiding business development, then you might have to pull that off. But generally speaking, we want to go after low-hanging fruit. You're an excellent speaker, and you can pick up 3, 4, 5 speaking gigs a month, a quarter. That could be one. Could be networking. Again, I'm in a national group called Provisors. It's made up of professionals. About 50% are attorneys. I get a ton of business from provisors and networking with those high-level consultants and lawyers and people in that space. So really think about what are the 1, 2, or 3 most impactful strategies that you could be spending your time on that are going to actually drive, traction for you. And once you have those strategies, by the way, that's the easy part. The more challenging part is to create some tactics. And tactics are the actionable things that you're doing every single minute, every single day, every week, every month to achieve those strategies, make those strategies a reality. And then that helps you accomplish your objective. So again, what we're doing here, going back to the last slide, is we're focusing on behaviors. So you're going to write down 5 to 7 tactics under each strategy with multiple bullet points. And an easy way to think about this, everybody, is write it like a story. So every good story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And what happens when we walk in late on a movie? Let's say you walk in on a movie 20 minutes late. Okay, and this happens sometimes with my wife and I. One of us will come in late and we'll start asking, who's that? And why is he mad at her? And we go through that whole routine, okay? And it's not fun, right? Or do you ever watch an amazing movie and then 20 minutes before it ends, you just leave? No, you don't do that. You want to see the end. So you want to think about some planning steps of how you're going to approach the strategy, execution when you're doing it, and follow through to make sure that you're not dropping the ball on things. A good example of this real quick is a conference. Lawyers just spend 2-3 days at a conference. They went, they did it, they showed up, they learned, they met people, and they left, and it's over and it's gone. And nothing transpired, really. What if you planned to meet certain people, you had an email list and you leveraged it, you got a bunch of meetings planned with CEOs and GCs and people that are high performing players. You were there. When you were there, you executed on some standard, infomercial, meeting great people, building great rapport, identifying and qualifying who you might want to work with and who might want to work with you. And then you actually took a stack of cards and followed through within 48 hours, right? And actually scheduled meetings. How much better would that conference have been? The last piece of this is to ask yourself who, what, when, where, how, and why. I think I left out why. That's okay. And that way, when you're writing these tactics, you're actually going to help yourself come up with things. So you could say, hey, the first thing I need to do as a planning step is I need to get all my contacts together in one place. All right, so I'm going to put them in an Excel. All right, so that's the who and that's the what. And basically, like, where are these contacts and when am I going to get that done? Do I have to schedule time to actually do that task? Probably, otherwise it'll just get pushed back. And here's what happens. If you don't get that list together with all of your contacts and rate them A, B, C based on a number of criteria that you create, then you just never have a list in front of you. Well, what happens when you don't have a list in front of you? All the other tactics on execution and follow through go away because you just don't have the organization to have that list and email them and get meetings and be really clear and specific about it. So that's the failure of planning that will help you fail. And maybe there's business out there that you're just not getting because you're not being constructive about it and your intention isn't in the right place. Okay. So again, create that objective strategies, tactics, plan. That's really, really important as far as a roadmap. Okay, start with your why. What that means, you may have heard that before, but like, what are you looking to do in your practice? Like, where are you looking to go? What's your goal? Is it to have a solo practice where, you have, very high level clients and delegate all the little work, to VAs? Is it that you want to scale out and build a 5 or 10 person firm or 100-person firm? What kind of life do you want to have? Do you want to have a lot of freedom and flexibility and time for your family, or is that less important to you? And really, focusing on the business and building it up and making a lot of money, that's important to you. So start with your why and then create your plan around really where you want to be in the next 12 months. Okay. Now, this is a really interesting, this is in my business plan, but I break everything down into rocks and shiny pennies. And what I mean by that is when there's something that comes across my desk that looks really, really interesting, I might take some time on it and focus on it. And what happens is it takes away my energy and my intention from the things that I know are a priority, right? And I call that a shiny penny. So what I really want to do is I want to think about, like, what are my rocks for the month, or what are my rocks for the quarter? What are the things I absolutely have to get done? I have to hire that administrative assistant. I have to get this matter out the door. I have to start posting. I have to post on social 3 times a week. These are the things that I'm prioritizing. Everything else is a shiny penny that you want to pick up, but you shouldn't. Put it on a list. Create a master list of all the shiny penny, long-term to-do things. Great ideas that you have, but maybe they're not for now. Maybe when you start clearing the decks of the things that are your rocks, you'll have room to bring the shiny pennies over and give them a shot. In some instances, you might think a shiny penny is a great idea at the time, and then a month later, when it sits on a list, you look at it and go, what was I thinking? That's not going to help my why at all. That's not going to get me where I want to go. That's a distraction. Well, good for you, because you could have, spent 50 or 100 hours on something totally unproductive. Okay, so that's a great way to work, is to have a list of rocks and priorities, then take everything else and don't worry about it. Just put it aside and say, it's not a priority. I don't have to worry about it right now, and just set it aside for the month or the quarter. And then you can always come back to it later. And then the last thing is review quarterly and then check things off that you get accomplished. So, you got that administrative assistant in place. Okay. Now the next rock is you have to train him or her. Okay. That's great. So one rock went away, another rock, went in its place. You're getting those social media posts out. In fact, you delegated it to someone. Great. You can check that off the rock list. So it's really, I don't know if you're like me, but it's a great feeling to check things off a list and say, got it done, got it done, got it done. And then it gives you all that space and capacity to bring in new and fresh things and ideas. All right. And one thing I wanted to share too is about time blocking. This is where, you don't, again, just let the day have you. You're going to be really intentional about how you schedule your time. It isn't done, but it can be done as a method of proper time management when it's done properly. So let's get into that a little bit. Again, focusing on your priorities. So my perspective, and again, I'm the business development guy, so take it for what it's worth. You may agree the 2 best uses of your time are going to be high-level client work and business development, going out and getting new clients. The reason that I say those are the 2 most important is because they're the 2 things that only you can do. You're not going to hire a sale. Most law firms, small law firms, and even big law firms don't hire professional salespeople to go out and find business for them. That's becoming a little bit more of a thing, but and I know some people in that space, but you're not going to do that most likely. You're the face of the firm. You're the one that needs to go out and get it. So really think about, if those are the two most important things, then why are you spending all your time on everything else? Okay. So think about scheduling your day the night before, and that way you're going to have the day that you want. And be very careful about, what happens in the morning. Like, get things done in the morning so that if the day does end up blowing up on you a little bit, at least it didn't impact your morning. So I'll give you an example. I recommend most of my clients do their business development outbound emailing or meetings in the morning between like 8 and 10. That way they can spend the rest of the day working and dealing with client interactions and emergencies that come up. But notice, if you get things done in the morning on the business development, then they're done and you're going to feel great about yourself. If you hold off and don't do that, and then the day has you're not going to do it at 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. It's just not going to happen. So that's just an example of scheduling, planning and scheduling the night before, and time blocking out in the mornings to get the things done that generally will get pushed down to the wayside if you don't do them. Man, delegating the running of your calendar, or using those automation tools. I mean, right now, Calendly and Acuity and some of these auto schedulers, they're the bomb. If you have the ability to control to putting an automated system in place, I would recommend it 1,000%. It's the best thing I ever did to get out of does this work for you? No. Does this work for you? No. Does this work for you? And we go back and forth, back and forth. It's awful. And the pushback that you're going to give me right now is, well, Steve, isn't it rude to kind of give someone your schedule and tell them to deal with it? The answer is no. It's actually better for everybody, because then they're in control. They can pick the time that works for them. They know it works for you. Everybody wins. If you're still uncomfortable with that, you can always use language like, in order to make the efficient use of our time, because I know we're both busy, it might be easier to use this auto scheduler to find the best time for us. If you need me to send you some dates outside of this, let me know. They're not going to do that. They're going to use the auto scheduler. Okay. The other one's a little more challenging. Actually delegating to your admin to run your calendar, run your inbox, handle the things that you normally handle. And it's a little bit of trust, but it's a huge amount of relief to get out of your inbox, to get out of your calendar, and let someone else sort of schedule for you and put things together. Again, working with them, hand in glove to make sure that you're on the same page. Okay. The last thing I want to share with you on this particular subject is a phenomenal book called Getting Things Done. I'll share some personal information about myself. I'm a feather on the wind. That's how I'm built. I'm built to do this, the shiny penny guy. I had 4 businesses running at the same time. I had 3 offices. I had, just new ideas coming in all the time. And I had stacks of business cards, stacks of paper everywhere, hundreds and hundreds of unopened emails. All right. Getting Things Done is the best book I've ever read and executed on to get organized. Okay. Especially around time management. The first thing it talks about is doing the purge, which is essentially taking all of the stuff around you, putting it in a pile, starting at the top, and having a process of working through it till it's nothing. Things get filed, things get put into do, things get thrown away. I think I had a huge hefty bag of paper. Yes, I recycled it, in case you're wondering, but it was like a massive amount of paper that I had that was totally unnecessary, totally just taking up space and filling up folders. So the purge is number one. And the 4Ds methodology is an absolute game changer in my book. I teach all of my clients this. Everything that comes into your brain, a social media post that you're reading, a phone call, a matter, a brief, a trial date, whatever it is, can be put into 4 categories. If you can get organized with these 4 categories, it's going to be a life changer for you. Number 1 is do it. If it's under 2 minutes, do it, knock it out, get it done, and it's off your desk. Okay. The only caveat is if you're in the middle of doing brain work, like things that you really have to focus on, having do-its pop up, like having your email chime and all that, is really, really bad. You don't want that to happen. So we want to do it, knock it out. Defer it is essentially not procrastination, but it's scheduling it and setting a time aside to get a priority done on something that isn't to do it. The number 3 is the most important, delegate it. You got to have people to delegate to. There's never been a better time ever to be a lawyer and be able to delegate. There are VA services popping up all over the place. I use Get Staffed Up. I have a full-time marketing guy. He's the one who's going to follow up after this presentation with the survey. He's the one who does social media posts and everything else. Delegate everything. All right. And then drop it. You shouldn't be doing it. Again, it's a shiny penny. It's something you shouldn't be doing during the middle of your day. Stop getting haircuts. Stop surfing the web. Stop going on Amazon. Focus your time during the day. So if everything falls into those categories, you're golden. Just follow the rules. Okay. And delegation, going back to it again, it's just the best thing you'll ever do. So again, track your day and your week to see where you're spending your time. Identify right away what's delegatable and what's not. What can only you do and what could you pay someone to do? So write down, hey, I'm making copies. An hour a day, I'm making copies. What's that worth? That's a $15 an hour job. Okay, great. Make a list. Maybe you end up with 10, 15 things that are $15 an hour. Now you have a reason to hire a VA or hire an assistant or part-time, whatever, instead of doing it yourself. Think about having 15 hours, 20 hours a week back. That's pretty incredible. Okay. Ask yourself what tests need to be done in-house, right? Or can they be done virtually? That's really important because there's so many VA services out there now. Okay, and then have a process for hiring and onboarding. Don't just bring in anybody and say, hey, here's the stuff I need you to do, go do it. You have to hire the right people and you need to onboard them properly and train them to make sure that they know what they're doing and they're going to do it right. And delegation is something that people have a hard time with because they don't understand there's different levels of delegation. Libby?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Different levels.
No, I was going to say this slide, but yes, I'm glad that you agree. So this is a quick little chart that says if you have someone new that you need to delegate, they need to be told what to do and they don't do it until they're told what to do and it's understood. The second is they tell you what they're going to do for you. You say yes, and then they go. The next is they go, then they let you know what they did and there's accountability there. And then eventually people don't need to be delegated to, they're just doing their job. But it can't be like that day one. You can't just say, here's 1,000 things to do, go do it, and just expect them to know what to do and do it. You have to put them through something so that there's some way of them to get better and better and better. I have my guy trained up so well. Sergio's the best. He writes like me now. He actually writes posts. People think it's me and it's not. He's writing, it's my content that he's promoting, but ultimately he's the one that's actually putting out the content. It's phenomenal. All right, Libby?
Yeah, kind of leveraging the right technology moving forward here.
Yeah. All right. So number one, or am I doing this or are you doing this? I forget.
No, I think you have the first couple and I can have a.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay, guys, this is going to sound insane, but if you care about $600 more than you care about your life and your time, then you can tune this out for a minute. I bought a Remarkable 2 tablet about 2.5 years ago, and I am absolutely convinced 100% it's one of the best things I've ever done in my life for my business. It's not an iPad, which does a lot of things. This does one thing, and that is I'm 100% paperless. I could show you anything in my office. You're not going to see a scrap of paper. I don't have a sticky note. I don't have a file. Everything is digital. Everything's on here. Every note I take, I can email myself. I can put PDFs right over them. I'm highly organized through this tool, Remarkable 2. So again, it's about $600. I don't think after you get it, you're ever going to say, geez, I wish I had my $600 back. It's not going to happen. It's like a top brain surgeon complaining about the price of a scalpel. Get the tool. It's amazing. And no, I'm not getting paid by Remarkable 2. I should though.
Yeah, and I just have kind of something to add on this. I've heard Steve talk about the Remarkable several different times. And, you know, if there's just before I kind of started with PracticePanther, I was using something similar called the Rocket Book. And I can 100% agree to this, you know, getting paperless, being able to kind of take notes and then having them become digital in, you know, immediately. It's awesome. I absolutely love these kind of tools.
Yeah, really cool. And as I mentioned before, the auto schedulers, I just can't speak highly enough about Calendly, Acuity. And I think they're continuing to get better and better as far as like their capabilities. But I've got, you know, one set up for prospective clients. I've got another link set up for networking, another one set up for my clients. So I send the appropriate link to people that gets them set up with the appropriate time, the appropriate spaces that I have set up in my calendar, so that again, I'm able to really manage how my day looks. And again, not do the back and forth with people like I used to do like all the time.
Yeah, and I have found even in this kind of past week, more people are using Calendly, and I really love when they send you those 24 hours in advance. Can you still make this? Do you need to reschedule?
Yeah.
It's a really great way to kind of keep people on track that way too.
Right. Oh, and I was going to mention this. So I'm friendly with the CEO and the CMO from a company called Connect the Dots. You may not have heard about it. It's ctd.ai. And what it does, it's essentially an add-on to LinkedIn. If you're using LinkedIn for business development and marketing, and you'd like to take it to another level, eventually I'm going to be a trainer for this. I'm really working on it. It's not like a certification I need. I just need to make sure I know everything that I need to know, because they keep making improvements. But essentially what it does is it scans not your emails, but the number of emails that you exchange with other people to know what your connectivity level is. And then based on that, when you use LinkedIn, it's like I have 13,000 people in LinkedIn. If there's someone you want to meet, it's going to be tricky to know, like, do I know that person? With Connect the Dots and that integration, you'll know that I know Libby. You'll know that I know, Rachel or Bob or whomever, because it says, my connectivity level is high. So it's just a great tool for business development. And again, cutting through, the quick to where the value is in LinkedIn and where the value is using Connect the Dots.
Perfect. And so wanted to kind of jump in here as well and mention Loom, for those who find themselves repeating or explaining the same process over and over. This is kind of a great freemium kind of tool that you can use online. It's screen recording, so it's called Loom, and it's software that can help you create video tutorials and walk through kind of set it and forget it type things. I find that there are multiple implications for a lot of law firms and our customers. If it's simplifying client onboarding, when you're really providing your potential clients with an introduction to your firm, you're detailing important aspects like your communication protocols, maybe your case management procedures and payment methods, how you accept payment. It's great. You can streamline for current clients, even maybe how to use your client portal. You can kind of guide them on the best ways to navigate the client portal, ensuring they can really effortlessly access those essential resources. And a lot of great things, they can also pay through their client portal directly. So you can kind of notify how they can kind of set that up. And another kind of thing is staff training. It's really made easy. You can kind of record step-by-step instructions for specific tasks. And this really kind of fosters that consistency, and while minimizing, some of that repetition you kind of see over and over. If you have to explain kind of the same thing over and over, or if you have new hires and things like that, I definitely recommend kind of looking into Loom. And then finally, kind of getting into, practice management software. I really think that's an integral part of getting time back in your day, because it can really help elevate your efficiency and the collaboration among your staff. With PracticePanther, you can automate those workflows. You can set up dates for deadlines. You can facilitate kind of seamless staff communication. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of incorporate the practice management software. So I figured we'd kind of take a few moments and really talk about leveraging practice management software to find that efficiency. And so when your firm utilizes a practice management solution, really the biggest advantage is having a single source of truth that your team can then lean on for the latest information, latest resources for your clients and for your cases. So, let's be honest, staying up to date with the multitude of activities and tasks, it can be a challenge. There's a lot of moving obstacles and things that you have to accomplish within a day or a week in your law firm. So using a practice management solution like PracticePanther can really help you stay informed and in control without having to be involved in kind of really every detail and every step of the way. Some of these key benefits are really being available anywhere in the cloud, which means you can be on any device, whether that's a laptop, a cell phone, a tablet. It really kind of serves as a central hub to organize your data so your entire firm can access it. Of course, depending upon security and user permissions and those kind of things that you want to set up. But, when you can kind of organize your data across the entire firm, it really kind of keep things up to date. Really gone are the days of really trying to search through scattered files, through scattered documents, relying on multiple systems to really find your answer. So you can kind of trust the info is kind of up to date and readily available, kind of at your fingertips. And so you can maintain those document version control, which is really great, especially if you're doing a lot of copying, pasting, and spending any kind of amount of time trying to find that latest version of the document, of the contract, of the letterhead, or anything that you might be needing. And so with the document templates, we have those unique dynamic fields where they'll auto-populate this information for you, kind of get out of the time it takes to find and copy and paste and update these documents. And so you can keep your clients engaged and informed this way. So not only are you keeping your staff engaged, you're keeping your clients engaged, and it really allows you kind of stay on task and on deadline. And so I know we had a quick question. We'll kind of hold that in until the end, but we promise we'll get to that. And so I wanted to kind of get into workflows for just a quick second. Think of workflows as a checklist of tasks to accomplish for each case or each client. And it helps ensure every step in the process is handled really by the best person on your staff so that nothing really falls through the cracks. Ideally, workflows really keep your team on track so you can even step away from the office. I'm looking at you, family vacations and upcoming holidays, without having to sacrifice that efficiency or without having, falling behind or feeling like you're falling behind. You can accomplish more with a smaller staff. You can really engage your entire staffer kind of through your practice management. You can assign kind of appropriate tasks to those unique staff members. You can track everything in a workflow to find out kind of where it is in the process. And it really kind of gives you that clear overview of the progress of your tasks. So you can identify the current statuses, are they past due? Are they maybe a conditional task? You're waiting on something else to happen. Is it already done? You don't even have to worry about it. So you can easily see those. And then also kind of helps you identify some bottlenecks to ensure projects are moving forward without kind of having that micromanaging opportunity. And then you can really kind of collaborate on those tasks. Events, you can kind of get notifications, which is really great. You can improve your scalability for your law firm. And ultimately, we're all here to save a little bit more time. And so over here on the right, you can kind of even see how you set these up. The really cool thing within PracticePanther is we even set up a default workflow for our customers moving forward. So you really kind of have a basic workflow to start, and you can always clone it, edit it, delete it, change things about it, and things like that. And we've seen our customers kind of really enjoy that, having a dedicated workflow already set up in the system. Regularly tracking time to save time, especially for those lawyers. We do have the opportunity where you can upload multiple time entries at once. But as you can see, studies are really showing that lawyers who enter their time monthly, you're losing a lot of that time. You can really improve accuracy, reduce those errors, and really trying to remember those activities and those details. Sometimes it can be hard to remember exact details of what happened, a couple days ago, let alone a couple weeks ago. And so really having up-to-date time tracking information could be really great. And within PracticePanther, although you have the ability to update multiple time entries at the end of the month, we highly recommend, at the very least end of the week, but really encourage whether it's either end of day or even, track time as you go. And so we even have kind of those abilities within PracticePanther where you can start a timer, you can pause and start new timers. You can immediately save those to matters, to cases and things like that, so you're having the exact information notated at that exact time, and you can really be detailed in what you're doing with your time tracking and saving. And you're not either losing time on the back end because you're trying to remember, or you're not, forgetting about a build meeting or an email or something like that. So really regularly tracking your time is going to be huge. And within PracticePanther, there are several ways that you can kind of do that. So we encourage you, ditch that notepad, track it as you're going with some built-in timers. And then finally, kind of on our last slide, I'm going to wrap up. Collaboration with your staff. This is kind of really huge and ways practice management solutions can really help. So with PracticePanther, we highly recommend staying competitive, being hybrid, being remote ready. Not all lawyers, and we're finding a majority of lawyers would prefer not to go into the office every day. They'd like the ability to work from home. And a lot of times they have to work on the go. So having a practice management solution is really great for this collaboration. You can instant message directly with staffers. You can group chat. So if there is a conversation that needs to be had about a case, you can bring in multiple staff members, and you can even send secure messages to clients and keep the communication going that way. You have access to all your historical activity and what has happened with each client, with each case. So you kind of know exactly what's happened over the last couple of days, couple of weeks, couple months. And then even when you're setting up those workflows, the task list notifications are great. You get them just like you would a social media notification, kind of in the top right of your in PracticePanther, notifying you if there's a new client that you have to onboard. Maybe there is a new meeting that's scheduled. Maybe you need to wrap up something or make sure you're getting documents, depending on kind of what your tasks are in a given day. You get these notifications, and then they kind of stay relevant in your activities tab. So you kind of always know what's coming next and what needs to happen. And that's kind of really where we get into those reminders. If it doesn't exist in my calendar, it doesn't exist in real life for me. I don't know how you guys operate, but those reminders are really key just to make sure you're staying on track, and you don't get sidetracked with those shiny pennies and things like that. Stick to your rocks. So utilizing those reminders either in app or email or in even a text message is kind of a great way to collaborate in real time and be mindful of everybody's time. And so that's kind of really it. We've wrapped up. Definitely want to say thanks again for coming, and that we have a survey kind of that'll be coming in your inbox momentarily from Steve's team. I did see we get some questions here we have a few moments to answer those. So I figured we'd go ahead and get to that. The first one, I think, Steve, was more, why remarkable? Does tablet not do the same function? He'd love some feedback on those tools. He says he has Microsoft tablet, but hate Evernote.
Well, you might not like my answer. I tried the iPad, and again, it was a mess between the way that it felt and all the multiple uses that it had. It was distracting to me. And then I got referred to Remarkable too, and that's where I've been ever since. So I don't have experience with the others. And if, again, there's one that you like and that works, then and one that you hate, then don't. But for me, Remarkable 2 is amazing. I mean, it feels like you're writing on paper. Everything is saved. Everything's backed up. I email myself tasks that go into my inbox that I then turn into tasks on my calendar. I can take PDFs and things I need to review with clients and things I need to do in networking meetings, and I put them on the tablet. I can write on top of them. I mean, it's just unbelievably helpful. And not having, I had sticky notes that were like piled on top of each other, and that was kind of, very anti getting things done, feeling for me. So this way, everything I have is here. It's easy to find. It's categorized. And anyway, but whatever works for you, that's the most important thing. All I can say is that I found this to be a reliable and, knock on wood, I don't have any, technical issues, but it's been really, really wonderful.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I think for me, having like an iPad or a tablet, the distractions, from emails, from social media, from really anything, you can kind of really get distracted. And that's why in my experience, I've used kind of something similar called Rocketbook, and it allows you to really immediately upload your information. You don't have to get distracted by going online and then the email notifications and then all the other notifications that pop up. So that's really great. Another kind of note-taking tool that I've used is OneNote. And I don't find it as great as Rocketbook, but it's great for organizing. So I'll start in Rocketbook and then organize it in OneNote. So, and then if we had a few other questions around that, can we elaborate on connect the dots on LinkedIn? Can you elaborate a little bit more on what that was, Steve?
Yeah, sorry. And it'd be even better if I was able to do some form of a live demo, but that's not on the table right now. So It's CTD, connect.ctd.ai. So go to the website and you can either get a demo, you can look it up. I'm sure there's videos on YouTube, but essentially what it does is it evaluates your email and exchanges with other people. So let's say that it's Libby and I. Libby and I have had, 25 to 50 email exchanges over the last, couple of years. So it's going to rate it's not going to know anything about what we've said in the emails, but it's going to know that we've email exchanged a number of times. It's going to rate our relationship as a very, very good relationship, which it is. And because of all those interactions, if someone is only interacted with me one time in the last number of years, it's going to rate that as a very low relationship. And so what that does, especially on LinkedIn, is it allows me to go into Libby's LinkedIn, look at her contacts, and instead of seeing 1,000, 2,000 contacts to find, let's say I want to meet lawyers, right? So I can go in and say, hey, Libby, do you know this lawyer, that lawyer? And she's like, I don't know that. I don't know that. I don't know that. This way I'm giving, I know out of 10 lawyers that I give her, 5 lawyers I give her to ask, do you think they'd be open to talking with me, that she's going to know them all. Then it's a matter of, are they open-minded? Do you think they'd be interested? Are they interested in growth and dramatic growth? So it's a way of networking and it's a way of doing business development that is far beyond what you get with just LinkedIn, because that's sort of the one missing piece with LinkedIn is what's the real relationship you have with the person on LinkedIn. But it attaches as a plugin for LinkedIn. And that way it works, hand in hand with that.
Yeah, I think it's like a Chrome extension if you use
Like a Chrome extension. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. And then another question was, is personal training available for setting workflows? And so, yeah, for new customers, we're a big fan of setting you up for success. And so we definitely want to set you up. Like I mentioned, the default workflow is in there. And then you'll actually have training with our staff on how to kind of set up these workflows, and how to kind of get them started, best use cases, and things like that. If you are looking for, more process feedback, are you doing the right processes in your workflow? We actually work with a number of consultants, just like with Steve Fretzin here on kind of business development and time management. We have a number of consultants in workflow and processes that we would be more than happy to kind of collaborate with you on and introduce you to. And they can then even help take it kind of to that next level on not only are you implementing workflows, but you're implementing efficient and, and you're making the best decisions on these workflows as well. So we will absolutely have training for you to set up. We'll walk you through how the different features work within our workflow. And if it gets to something where you're looking for a little bit more in-depth process information, we can help on that front too with some really great recommendations. Awesome. And I think kind of the last question we have, I think all of you can kind of get behind this, you're busy. You're busy all day, every day. You're at trials, you're trying to get out there, get new customers and things like that. Really, how do you make that time? What is it that you can do to make that time? And I didn't know, Steve, if you had maybe one more last nugget of insight before we let everybody go.
Yeah, I would just say everything we covered today is a great starting point. Getting things done and atomic habits and becoming a student of time management, of automation, of really understanding how that's going to benefit your practice in the short term and the long term. And just remember, you're not alone. There's people that can help you accomplish anything that you want to accomplish in your business and in life. You just have to ask. You just have to take that time. And again, just real quick before we wrap up, Libby, we're going to send out that survey. Again, just a few questions, 30 seconds of your time. Give us the feedback on today, what you liked, what you didn't like, what else you'd like to hear, that type of stuff. And that would be so appreciated. And then you're going to get a copy of my book, Sales Free Selling, which I think you'll really, really enjoy. And again, saving time on business development counts as time management. So thanks, everybody. And thank you, Libby, for having me as your co-presenter.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Always value your insight, Steve.
For sure.
Everybody have a great rest of your day, great holiday, and keep a watch on your inbox.
Bye. Thanks.